Welcome class 11, the second part of We Are Not Afraid to Die. We have already started the story We Are Not Afraid to Die, and we have studied the first part of the story. The story is written or narrated by Gordon Cook and his co-writer Ellen East. It is like a personal account of the writer who is on a round the world trip in July 1976 to duplicate the round the world voyage made by Captain Cook years ago. So here the writer or the narrator has already started his journey from British waters to South Africa, and they have celebrated Christmas and the New Year in the Wave Walker. Wave Walker, as you know, the name of their boat. So now the time of end of the year or the beginning of the new year, the atrocious type of the weather was disturbing them, and their journey was being disturbed by the frequent weather alerts or the alarms that they were getting in the southern Indian Sea, sorry. So finally at dawn on January 2, the waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. We have already done this. And when the storm was there in the sea, they would have thought that the sea storm can affect or can be dangerous to their lives. So they started doing all the life-saving drips like slow the boat down, drop the storm jib. We have already studied this. Last a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern is the front part, as we have studied the different parts of the ship in the beginning. So on the stern, then doubly last everything, life raft drill, attached lifeline, oilskin down, life jackets, and they waited. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew darker. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud towered aft the ship. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. So the first indication of impending disaster. Impending disaster means, here impending means something that is going to happen very shortly in the future, means in the upcoming time. अभी अभी जो होने वाला है impending पे impending disaster at about 6 p.m. Disaster means the calamity, जो natural calamity होते हैं ना, disasters कहते हैं, which brings almost destruction, devastation, and we can say the misfortune. An ominous silence. Here ominous means, ominous is again something that brings bad luck. That ominous, something that is very that gives some good signals that something will be lucky for us. So opposite of this is ominous. Ominous is something that brings misfortune, something that brings bad luck. Ominous silence. The silence was an omen, was a thing, something that may be dangerous to them, that may bring misfortune to them. So The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. ये ominous means जैसे हमारा शकुन अपशकुन कहते हैं ना, अपशकुन हो गया. So ominous is अपशकुन, something that brings bad luck. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Wind रुक गई. The sky was dark, grey colored dark. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud towered out of the ship. Then growing roar. The growing means the sound of the sea waves growing, roaring of waves was growing, increasing, and an enormous means very big. Cloud towered means mounted high, climbed high, towered. टावर के जैसे एक वेव्स ऊपर को निकली इंडियन सदर्न ओशन से. Aft of the ship means behind the ship. With horror I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other I had ever seen. For a moment I thought that it was a cloud, but then suddenly I realized that it was not a cloud. Actually, it was a wave, gigantic waves that I had never seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. And I was filled with the horror to see that such an high wave was rolling towards their ship. It appeared perfectly vertical. Horizontal and vertical means upwards, and almost twice the height of other waves, and it was the highest waves among all, means twice in the height, double height, with a frightful breaking crest, and it was breaking the crest. Crest means surface of the sea. It was moving towards the ship, breaking the surface of the sea. ऐसे उसके surface को, उसके ऊपर के लेयर को, वाटर को ऐसे ब्रेक करते हुए वो waves was heading towards the ship. The roar increased to a thunder as the stern moved up the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. The roar increased and it came nearer and nearer to the ship. The sound of the roar increased with the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. For a moment it came to the mind of the writer that they can ride over it. Ride over it means their ship will go on the top of that wave. It means they will not sink. It will not just turn over their ship. शिप को वो पलट नहीं देगा, उसको राइड कर जाएंगे, माने उसको वेव के ऊपर आ जाएंगे. और जब वेव के ऊपर आप हैं, you are safe. If you are under the wave, you will perish. But then a tremendous explosion shook the deck. तभी एक tremendous explosion हुआ, a very magnificent, big explosion हुआ, and it shook the deck. Deck is the uppermost part on which the people sit and go. That deck was shaken badly by that explosion. A torrent of green and white waters broke over the ship. My head smashed into the wheel, and I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. A torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. A powerful showers we also call showers or showers. Showers हैं जो बौछारें हैं तेज पानी की. Green and white water because of light. The torrent, the shower, the speedy droplets of the water was coming in the color green and white in the ship. My head smashed. The head of the writer who was driving the ship, his head got hit. He got smashed into the wheel. Steering wheel पे उसका head smash कर गया. And I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. And I was aware that the wind was so powerful, the wave was so powerful that I was flying overboard. Board जो था, जो deck था, उसके ऊपर वो ऐसे तैर रहा है. And sinking below the waves. Then he felt that he is under the waves, means they were hit by that gigantic wave. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. मैंने अपनी अप्रोचिंग डेथ को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful, and I was going unconscious. And then it was a peaceful. When you are very close to your death, then you feel that you have in a peaceful condition, no hurry, nothing, just only peace. So you can understand that what is the situation there. The narrator is on the ship with his family, with his young children, wife, and got hit by the storm. So what will happen? How will he come over this situation? Whether he will overcome the situation or not, we see it. Unexpectedly, my head popped out of the water a few meters away. Wave Walker was near capsizing, her mast almost horizontal. Then a wave hurled her upright. My lifeline jerked taut. I grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into Wave Walker's main boom. Subsequent wave tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. My left ribs cracked, my mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Somehow I found the wheel, lined up the stern for the next wave, and hung on. Unexpectedly, something that is not expected, something that is not hoped, कुछ ऐसा हुआ. My head popped out of the water, remained outside the water, popped out of the water के बाहर ही मेरा सर रहा. A few meters away, wave walker was near capsizing, and मेरे से कुछ ही मीटर की डिस्टेंस पे जो वेव वॉकर थी. व्हाट इज वेव वॉकर? वेव वॉकर इज द नेम ऑफ देयर शिप. It was near capsizing. Near capsizing means it was just making an unstable movement on the ship, ऐसे डोल रही है वो left to right on the ship. Her mast almost horizontal. जो main mast मैंने उसके part में बताया आपको ये. I have already explained what is the mast, what is main mast. जो बीच में एक पोल है उस पे वो हॉरिजेंटल था, वो वर्टिकल होता है मास्ट. इट वॉज लाइंग ऑन द डेक. देन अ वेव हर्ल्ड हर अपराइट. हर मीन्स वेव वॉकर. तभी एक वेव आई और उसने जो कैप्साइजिंग ऐसे एक तरफ है कुछ झुका हुआ, टिल्टिंग टू अ साइड. कैप्साइजिंग मीन्स टिल्टिंग टू अ साइड, एक तरफ को ऐसे झुका हुआ वेव वॉकर हो गया था, उसको अपराइट कर दिया, सीधा कर दिया. माई लाइफ लाइन जग टॉट. जो मेरी लाइफ लाइन थी, एज यू नो बिफोर द वेव दे हैव prepared themselves to face the storm. They have attached their lifeline, means a rope. They have attached themselves with their ship so that the waves couldn't take them far away from the waves. So he says that my lifeline jerked. Jerked means get a shake. ऐसे झटका लगना है, किसी हिलाते हैं कोई चीज़ झटका लगता है, ऐसे jerked. And I grabbed the guard rails and sailed through the air into wave walker. तभी मैंने वेव वॉकर के रेलिंग होती जो आउटर पार्ट, आउटर बॉर्डर इज saved, or we guard the outer border with the rails. Means the border of a roof is guarded with rails. जो rails थी, जो उसमें रेलिंग जिसे कहते हैं, उसको पकड़ा. And through the air I jumped into the wave walker's main boom. Main boom, again the boom is already explained in the picture, the part of ship. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. And subsequent means after that, the waves coming after that wave tossed me. Tossed me means threw me up here and there around the deck like a rag doll. Rag doll means a doll that is very old, means used, thrown. डॉल को यूज करके जब उसका क्लोथ्स सब डर्टी और फट जाता है, रैग डॉल. माई लाइफ रिब्स cracked, and because of that tossing here and there on the deck, my left rib cage, you know, rib part of body, rib just below the chest, in which our lungs are kept safe. My mouth filled with blood and teeth. I got my teeth broken. My mouth filled with blood and teeth. Somehow I found the wheel lined up the stern, and anyhow I could reach to the wheel, steering wheel. lined up the stern. फिर मैंने उस व्हील को पकड़ के जो stern था, front part of the ship, wave walker, उसको line up किया, line up towards the wave, so that the wave will not turn it over, और tumble down नहीं हो जाएगा, बल्कि क्या होगा, it will ride on the waves. stern अगर wave की तरफ है, so it can face the waves without much damage for the next wave and hung on. And then I kept the wheel in my hand. I waited. The waves were coming, hitting the stern. तो फ्रंट का जो एक तरह से पॉइंटेड पार्ट्स है उसको वो stern कहना है. So with this we end this part. So we will continue the story. What will happen to them? What will happen to the family of the writer or the narrator? Will they save themselves from this disaster, or they will perish with the ship? So we will find out. Till then, again, as usually you do, you just write the story you have heard so far, you have watched so far in your own words, and keep practicing towards with the hard words as well. So that's all for now.